before they're about to leave, onto the ship, onto the dwarven ship, they decided to have one last drink at the local inn before they left. And that was the start of their mishaps. That lasted only a brief moment. A very brief moment. A few hours. So let's switch over to memory time. Okay, so the party is gathered around the Fish Eye Tavern, and you guys are ordering your regulars. And you hear in the background, just the local patrons talking and chatting about their day. Some of them shit talking, some of them making incoherent garbles of words. So you look down and you notice that there seems to be a furry friend butting on your leg. No more. Okay, hopefully you can see the furry friend. Seems to be a sheep with a hat. A wizard hat on top of it. And it's butting on your leg. No more. Trying to get your attention, it seems. But it seems that the magic somehow passes through you anyway. That's why I have to loop this. The magic passes through you anyway, and you start to notice conversations that weren't there before enter your hearing. So it seems like you hear some high-pitched talking in the background of what used to be bird chirps are now high-pitched conversations. It seems that you are actually starting to understand what animals are saying. And as the goat bleats at you again, it goes from a bleating sound to the sound of hey, do you understand me? I'm a sheep! But not just any sheep. Can you see my hat? My hat! What do you think this hat means? So as you say this, the sheep actually looks defeated. And it says, I'm not homeless. I'm a wizard, you see. This is a wizard's hat. Oops. The sheep says, yes, I can perform a spell. I can let you speak to animals. See, it just worked. You hear the sheep muttering to itself. It says to itself, I thought I approached the most magically gifted in this party, but it seems to be a dunce. Perhaps I'll need to make another scroll and approach that elf woman. Do you know any magic at all? Gnome? You! Yes! Can you blow your nose and turn a sheep into a man? Listen, I am a very, very powerful sorcerer. Very powerful. But I've been turned into a sheep. And I need your help. I need you to bring me to my tower. My sorcerer's tower. Maybe I can turn myself back. You see? There's only one tower. The other one blew up. You see, one of my apprentices was angry and turned me into this sheep and threw me off the tower. Fortunately, I survived, but I knew that I couldn't face it unless I had help, magical help. And so I traced the source of magic, the strongest one I could find, and it led to you. Apparently magic doesn't scale with intelligence though. Unfortunately. Listen, I can give you a reward. I can give you... what can I give you? My most prized possession. It's worth more than my life. My mind is worth more than my creations. He says, I can give you the tool that my own apprentice used against me. A wand of true polymorph. But only if you're willing to help me. It means it turns someone into something else. Like an animal. Or a gnome, I guess. Well, that's it. I can give you the wand. My tower, it's not too far from here. Just go east, and then go west, and then go north, and then go east, and then south. The rest of the party notices that No More is having this conversation with this furry animal. Even though it seems like the furry animal is just making bleating sounds. It's very strange. You're not sure if No More has actually lost it, or perhaps the sheep is a long lost friend. As we explained this to Glauve, there's a loud thud from the slamming opening of a door into the tavern, and someone comes in, an orcish brute, and he makes a grunting sound, and you can hear him breathing even across the tavern with all the noise. He has a heavy breathing sound, and you see his eyes squinting, looking across. And behind him there are a few dogs, small dogs as well. And he looks down at the dogs and he says, "Boys, find the sheep." And the dogs start sniffing around on the ground in search of a sheep. No More and Glauve, you hear this, but the rest of the party seems to be preoccupied with eating their meal. The little sheep at the bottom, below you, are No More. He says, "They're looking for me. They're going to kill me. Those are the mercenaries that my apprentice hired to kill me. You have to protect me. I can't do anything in this stupid floor. Can't even cast spells." Yeah, so the chief is around here, so... Okay, so you grab the ration and you throw it into the corner, and the dogs scatter and chase after it. It causes a little bit of a ruckus in the tavern, but nothing that the tavern goers aren't used to. They begin to devour the ration in the corner and snap at it. The sheep talks to you, No More. He says, "Now's our chance. You have to get me out of here, whilst the dogs are preoccupied." He says, "But we can't leave through the front. The orc, he'll notice me immediately. I think we have to leave through the back or something." The sheep timidly follows you to the back, and the barkeep looks at you and says, "Hey, what are you doing? Trying to get into the back? Only the chef's allowed there." or any of his cooks. Toilet? Why don't you just shit outside? Oh, and then he points. That sheep! Is that fresh stock? Are you a deliverer? Oh, I see. Why didn't you say so? The chef needed some fresh lamb chops for some dignitaries coming tonight. Come in the back. He seems to be furious. He says, the sheep! And he points towards you, Versa. He says, you are hiding the sheep all along. How do you know this sheep? How did you come across? Are you working with him? He says, I'm sure the master won't mind if I just remove 1 or 2 pesky intruders, interlopers. And he says, alright boys, get him! And he points towards you, Versa, and the dogs begin charging towards you. The sheep bleats at you no more, and it says, I think we should go. Do you want to tell your friends to come along? I think we'll need them. They seem quite capable. Okay, so as you enter the tree, you're surrounded by a lavish garden. Some sort of lavish interior garden inside the trunk. So you're now inside the innard of the tree. And you can see inside the garden, but you can also see down inside the main part of the tree. And it seems completely empty, as if the tree has been evacuated, or if no one is around. It's quite eerie how empty the tree is. Yes, a stone bench. And your goat friend, who says, he says that this doesn't feel like my tower. You might be right. It might have been redecorated by my apprentice or something. Something is strange about it, though. I don't normally put my alchemical garden at the front. Too easy to have things stolen from. Yes, the goat comes along and guides you. He says, since you are helping me, you adventurers are helping me, I will let you harvest any reagents you'd like from my personal garden, as long as you don't break or destroy any of the plants around here. You find these peculiar looking plants all sprawled across the ground next to one of the trees. They seem to be littered around. They have these like saplings that sprout out from the ground, and the saplings seem to be twitching. Yes, these saplings that sprout out from the ground, they seem to be twitching. Would you like to harvest? As you pull one out from the ground, you see a rooty, tree-looking face, and its mouth begins to gape wide open and scream at you. Looks like a tiny wood human, and as you pull the root out, it just begins screaming at you, making a loud noise. And the sheep turns towards you and it says, "What are you doing, you fool? Just pulling a mandrake out straight from the ground? You are certainly not a magic caster." As you drop it to the ground, it crawls back into the part that it came out of and makes no sound. Glave, you'll have to roll. Its head's still sprouted out, but you'll have to roll 2d20. Glave, you'll have to roll a con saving throw. Everyone will have to roll a con saving throw. actually. Yeah. Okay, so you don't take damage. It's 60 feet. 60 feet must make a D12, so. Okay, so just roll 2d10 and you take that much psychic damage. Oh wait, you got a 2? Wait, you got a 2? Was that right? Oh, okay, don't roll for damage. Roll 1d4. Yeah, roll 1d4 for me. You got 5? You also roll a 1d4 the rest. Okay. What did you get, Marissa? A 1? Alright, so both of you are paralyzed for 2 and 1 hours. Yeah. And, yeah. So Tori is 2 and the rest is 1. Yeah, so you're not affected. They're paralyzed. As you're scrambling to find a solution, Glave, you see someone watching you from the corner. Someone menacingly watching you from the corner. You see this in the corner. From this side. With a big goofy grin. It seems to be licking its lips. Okay. Hurry, you're no longer paralyzed. Paralyzed? No, it's over across in the main area. Yep, over here. Okay, so Varese is no longer paralyzed. Yep. The sheep says, I think one of you should be able to grab the mandrake, but only those who have the most dexterous hands. Who amongst you of the party is like this? Yeah. He says, you must shove... Yeah. He says, you must shove this into its mouth as soon as you pull it out. And the sheep pushes some little ball on the ground. You think it's actually a piece of sheep shit. It says, push this into its mouth and it will shut up immediately. Yes. Yeah, okay. So make your sleight of hand roll to try and pull out the mandrake. And pacify it. Oh! Yep. So not only is Rufus able to pull out the mandrake and pacify it, he's also able to pull out another one and pacify it. So now you have 2 mandrakes that are sleeping in your inventory. Rufus? So the sheep explains that mandrakes have very, very rare chemical properties that can do that give one if given to a experienced alchemist can make paralysis potions or poisons. But to sell them, you would on a fair price would get around 750 gold each. But he says, but the gold isn't worth the scientific endeavor. Okay, so as you walk across, there's 3 gorillas that start staring at you, Marissa. You see them in plain sight now. They kind of appear out of nowhere, and they just start staring at you and beating their chests. And you start hearing some chanting noises. And one of them says, ha, ha, oh. They seem to be very interested in you. One of them scratches its head, the other one scratches its ass, but the third one seems to nod. Or scratch its chin, you're not sure. So the gorilla on the right is the one that nodded, and the 2 gorillas on to the left of it, they seem to make some sign language symbols with by taking one of their hands and making a circle, and the other with a finger and poking the finger through the circle. And the gorilla on the right looks at the other 2 and says, ooh, ooh, ooh. And yeah, go ahead. Okay. Yes, first you can understand, and after you cast the spell, gladly you can understand as well. So the gorilla's name is Harambe, and he explains that all his gorilla friends have been transformed from humans into gorillas by an irreversible process by an evil wizard in this tower. And he says that he was hoping that you would be able to destroy this wizard, this evil wizard. The gorilla says, yes. Help the shit shoveler. We need all the help we can get. I'm not sure where the master of this tower is. He's been gone for a while. Could be anything. The goat chimes in and says, after you relay this information to him, the goat says, I believe my master is probably meditating. He normally meditates when he is preparing for a great battle. He says, to be honest, I am not the magical sort. I can't tell the difference. He says, I know he casts spells. That's about it. And that he's an elf. And that he thinks greatly of himself. And that he reads a lot. But I don't know what a sorcerer or a wizard is. He says, yes, his name, it sounds as pompous as himself. His name is, insert name here, Fine Thea Shinebright. Varessa, you recognize this Shinebright last name, and it comes from a magically gifted group of elves, the lineage of a magically gifted group of elves. But it's very peculiar that it is a high elf, because they're normally wood elves, from his description. Yep. Yeah. 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 Okay. So the goat leads the party towards his quarters. Over down here. And he says, now, in order to break me from this curse, you have to bring a lock of my hair and let me eat it, and I'll return back to normal. It's a very common transmutation spell. If this sheep had magical powers, I would have told you to eat him already. This sheep is just a silly human, turned into a sheep. The same as an ordinary human, they're all sheep. His hat, though, very stylish, but magically useless. Okay. Yep. So you get the lock of hair and feed it to the sheep. And as you feed it to the sheep begins to twist and morph and begins to grow in size into a very long humanoid shape that resembles that of a human with brown hair. Without the quiver. But yes, it seems that the sheep's original form was that of a brown-haired human. And the human replies, in common, he says, thank you, you freed me. Now, I can find my own destiny. Now, I can stop being a shit shoveler. No, never! I will never do that again. I will become a grand wizard. I will go to the great wizard school in the capital. He says, defeat my master? How do you expect me to do that? I am just a non-spellcaster at the moment, but I'll come back eventually. I think we just sneak and go away. I'll come back in a decade, and I'll kill this stupid human. Elf, I mean. Seeds. He says, the seeds. Yes, I stole the seeds. They're underneath my desk. They're in the rubbish bin. Yeah, he walks over and he grabs a pile of the seeds and he gives them to you, Noble. And he says, here, I stole these from my master's chambers. I'm pretty sure they're the seeds that give you immense magical focus from the plant that they go into. And with your 18, Varessa, you believe that this human has absolutely zero magical ability. Less than regular. Zero. Nada. He says, magical potential. Yes, I know I have no magical potential. But that's okay. I don't want to be a wizard. I want to be an alchemist anyway. That is where my true knowledge lies. In working with magical ingredients. See that mandrake? I was the one who planted it. In fact, I tend the garden. And the garden needs fertilizer. So you see, I am left in this position of shit shoveling. Yeah. He is familiar with that manor because an alchemist used to work in that manor before it was abandoned. So he's familiar, and he's excited at the prospect. He says, "Oh, maybe this could be a good place. The dark forest has very interesting magical ingredients. Maybe this is my future. This is my way to get back at this stupid spellcaster. Thinks he's better because he can use bad." He just keeps on going on. He seems to really hate his master. And then he stops after a few seconds. Go on. As the human alchemist, who he says to just call himself A for alchemist. A says that as he's making the potions, you hear him grunting and raving about how this potion will get him. This will actually bring him down. I can't wait to see the smirk come off his face. He seems quite menacing, and you're not really sure if you're helping the good guy or the bad guy in this situation. But as he finishes his potion, he pours it into a vial, and it shimmers a sort of galaxy-like color. It's purple, and it sparkles with yellow and white flakes. And it swirls around. It's actually quite a beautiful potion. And the smell smells like, ginger. Ginger ale. He says, this potion, if I've formulated everything correctly, use the properties of the mandrake and of the other ingredients I've put into the potion, he says, you should throw this at your target, a magic caster, and it should prevent them from casting magic. My idea was to throw this at him and then gut him with a dagger. He says, he does give it to you, but he says, careful. I'm not sure how potent this one is. If even a drop gets on you, it could completely remove your magical ability. Forever. For me, of course, it has no effect. Yeah. Yeah. So roll for an Arcana check. You're not sure if this potion will do everything he says it does, like wipe out your magical ability permanently, but you do think that this potion seems to basically destroy any magical ability or any magics of what it touches. So you're not sure what it will do when it touches you or another spellcaster. But it seems to have like an ability to remove magic. Yeah, it's corked up and shut. He says, definitely. Especially if I can get him from behind or by surprise. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, he says, that sounds like a good idea. I'll just stay out of this fight and sit in my room. He says, alright, I'll cast. Yeah. So he equips all this and he comes along. Okay. So after this all ends and the gorillas come and basically they act as like some kind of guards looking out for this dangerous spellcaster. A rumbling sound can be heard from the tree, and A says, "Oh, I believe my master has awakened." And Veressa, and I believe Tori and Glave, you feel a strong magical presence appear. And it comes from the center of the tree. You can maybe see from the end of the room that you're in, the centermost stump of the tree at the roof, it kind of opens up. The roof opens up. It unravels itself. And there is a floating humanoid being that comes down from the roof. You would assume that this being is the elf that the A was talking about. And a sort of ethereal chime comes from this elf. And the apes, also the gorillas themselves, they kind of cower in fear a little bit from this man. And he appears with a book in his hand and a lifeless expression. Perhaps because he just woke up. And you see him in the corner. He's actually a very small man. Not this one. This one is small. So you're not sure why. Maybe he's actually very young. But I guess only Veressa would know that. Yeah. And then he begins to look around, as if confused that he doesn't have his apes aren't around. He seems to be looking around for them. Roll, the potion slips and cracks on the ground. So as he throws it, it like hits, let's say it hits the wall or something, and it breaks into the wall. And you see the purple galaxy-looking ooze just drip across the wall. Sure, yeah, I'll let you do that. But you can only salvage enough to throw it with one dagger, and you can't use the rest. So with a 21 to hit, Rufus is able to throw his dagger, and it twirls through the air, and it's actually able to stick itself right into the young elf's abdomen. And he seems shocked. He seems in horror. And he looks over towards Rufus. And you can see his expression turn to anger. His cold face seems to be not so cold anymore. Rage seems to build up from within him. And before he's able to make a reaction towards Rufus, he begins to start coughing profusely. He begins to start curling himself up as if in a great amount of pain. And his skin begins to turn red, basically. Completely red. And his body begins to pulse, and it seems to have bubbles form. And the place where the dagger actually intersected into him, stuck into him, it begins to form a mouth. A mouth begins to form where the dagger hit. Varessa, you're quite taken aback by this sight, because you kind of expected that the potion would leave the target the same, but without any magical abilities. But it seems to have some sort of transformative effect, maybe due to the fact that the potion hasn't been perfected, or isn't actually, maybe it needs to be done by a more skilled alchemist. But the effect it has on him is it begins to transform him and turn him red. And the one mouth turns into two, and the two turns into 3 and 4, and then a bunch of eyes begin to appear across his whole body. And eventually, at the end of the transformation, he turns into some red, sickly, horrendous abomination. And there is one thing that you do definitely notice. Hopefully this actually works. Let's see. There we go. Now, there's one thing you definitely notice about this horrific sight. That it has no magical ability anymore. Completely magicless. But is now turned into some feral beast. Yeah, everyone else is here. And the red beast begins to grab onto the nearby wyverns, which you assume were some sort of pets or familiars for the spellcaster, and begins eating them. It seems to have lost its mind and begins eating its own wyverns. He watches this completely unfold, and he has just a giant smirk on his face. He says, "Yes, you'll get what you deserve. You're getting it right now." And he says, "I might have added a little bit of extra into the potion." He says, I'm not sure. I actually didn't expect it to be this effective. He says, I have no idea. I'm not actually familiar with beasts, but I do know that he has 0 magical ability. He says, could be, or maybe he just transformed because I wanted him to transform. I'm not sure. And he has a smirk on his face. Yeah. There's no samples to collect. They're all basically unusable. Yeah. He says he can probably try and perfect the formula if he had more time. Yeah. It's basically just completely eaten all these wyverns. It seems to... actually, I'll let you guys make a perception check. The one who's the most perceptive, I guess. To make a perception check. Okay. You guys can all roll if you like. $19. Okay, so Tori, you believe, from all the context clues, you believe that this abomination, this aberration, seems to crave magic. Seems to feast off of magic. And everyone else who rolled high also knows this as well. Was able to tell this. So it seems to be craving magical beings to consume. As if its life source is magic. It's too big to fit through the door, but you think it's probably strong enough to break the walls if it notices your presence. So I'm guessing you tell this to the whole party, this information. So you let the party know, including A. Okay, so A says that he thinks, he's 70% sure that if you left this creature here, it would just die without any magical sources to feast on. Then the A replies, he says, yes, that's actually a very good point. Well, maybe if we could restrain it somehow, it could starve itself to death. I'm not sure we could defeat this. You see, I believe the potion makes someone unable to use magic, but it also may have the property of making one immune to magic as well. He says, I would believe so. The potion, it's very, very experimental. Freaky you are. So, fighting. So hungry. He says, yes. Run into this creature. Yes, good idea. This creature will eat you, you fool. He says, the armor says, this creature is way above your spellcasting ability. All of you will die, surely. Yes, and I have you, but I can't use you if you're dead. I mean, we can't work together if you're dead. He says, you'll thank me later. Just don't fight him. He says, There's no way for you guys to fight him. But maybe there's a way you can stun him. Or put him to sleep. You see, this creature comes from the same place I come from. Do you understand no more? See, we come from a different plane. And we become very sleepy if we don't eat. Or if we eat the wrong things. That's why I sleep all the time. This creature is the same. If you feed it something wrong, it will probably pass out. Like a sugar crash. I think that'll be very unwise. You like me, don't you? And I'm stuck to your body. So it's like you feeding yourself. He says, yes, and he does look like candy, but don't eat him. We don't taste very good. The armor says, we really, really dislike eating weak things. Anything that's weak. Mr. A looks at you with feeling as he says, no, please, please. He says, yes, what about the seed that he hides behind to worry? He says, no, you have to grind them up and then boil them. They're kind of like coffee. They don't really work unless you boil them. He says, I don't want to die. Why would I lie? He says, yes, I'm not a wizard, but I'm almost as useful as one. Look what I did! And he points towards the creature. Tell me, what wizard can do that? Yeah. Yeah. You can just throw it in there. A fruit tree grows. Okay, so a random fruit tree grows, but each of the fruit have potion effects. Okay. Okay, so do you know what potion effects are on each fruit? Wait, for each fruit, roll a d20. So as the tree blooms and the fruit grows, the beast begins to grab all the fruit and eats them all at once. So you'll have to tell me what potions they are that the fruit gives. Yeah. Oh, I see. So just 4 random potions. Okay, well then I'll find the random. Just roll 4 d100s. And then I'll list out the potions. Then eats. Mm-hmm. $63.99. Yeah, put them in the chat for me. So, yeah. Okay, so these are the 4 potions that you get, that the fruit bloom into, have the effects of, basically. Yeah, that's basically the effect. It just falls into a trance for 1 minute. Yep, slump. So you can like walk around it, you can interact with it, it won't do anything. It seems to be pacified for a minute. Yeah. A follows you. Yeah. A tells the gorillas, yep, to follow as well. The gorillas, their footsteps are quite loud, but it seems to make no effect on the beast. And I guess no more you leave as well. No more leaves as well. Yeah, you find 2 books. 2 books. Magical books. You'll have to inspect them more to figure out what they do. Yeah, from the chest. You find 2 books from the chest. A talks to the creature while it's sleeping, and he says, "This is what happens when you don't respect your workers," he says. And he spits on the ground. He says, "Some use all your magic was for. You've been beaten by a shit shoveler." And he runs off. And he says, "Okay, so we're running anyway, let's go." Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, so you cast Firebolt into the middle of the room. And the entire tree is set ablaze instantly. And the bridges begin to collapse over here. Yep, the bridges collapse. And the beast is still in a slumber and is perhaps burning alive whilst this is happening. Yep. Okay. And so, yep, the rest of the party also escapes as the tree is set ablaze. And A looks at the tree and says, "Oh, I'll miss the magical garden," because the magical garden just begins to set ablaze as well. It says, "All those ingredients, all those mandrakes, gone," he says. And he looks down. But at least we defeated the wizard. He says, unfortunately these gorillas, they've been turned for much too long. Unlike me, which I was turned for around a few days, these are, well, his personal servants for years. Yeah. He says, well, these gorillas, they have special shit that helps grow alchemical ingredients. That's why the master made these gorillas. He says, you can, but I don't think anything will happen. And so the party, after watching the tree burn down in its entirety, the party escapes back into the regions of Saltmarsh, into the main town. And A and the gorillas begin working for Varessa, A as the head alchemist, and the gorillas as basically servants or whatever you'd like, Varessa, to assist with your mana. They agree to help you because you seem to be a nicer elf than the one they were working, or the one that they were enslaved to before. Yeah. Meddling. yeah. Nadar. Yeah. Yeah, your advisor is able to fit them nicely into your mana and all of its work. Also, before the tree, before you basically leave the area of the tree, the armor, no more, it speaks to you and says, give me a piece of the tree. Let me eat the tree. And you will be quite happy. We shall see. He says, I crave the tree. He says, seeds. Last time I had seeds, it didn't end too well. I grew into an armor. He says, he whispers to you, no more. He whispers to you something, obviously none of the party actually understands, because the armor speaks telepathically. But the armor says to you no more. He says, you know, the base has burned, but the beast lives. He says, and the beast will be back. For you, for everyone. Stronger after it's eaten the tree. Yes, give me the tree. It'll be much stronger than me. You'll have to feed me something that's more stronger than this tree, I'll have to be honest. This has a whole tree. I have one branch. I have not much to work with, man. It's rough out here. I'm starving. Yeah. It'll like eat the ashes or something. The roots. Yeah. Basically a day. Yeah. Right. So this happens before what happened. This is in the past. Yeah, so because now you have an alchemist, I'll let you do what is it? I'll let you do the rolls again to make your alchemy money, because you'll earn more with the alchemists and the gorillas. The gorillas can count as 3 workers. And the way the alchemist will work is we'll make it so the alchemist can like produce basically any potion that you'd like. Any potion that you'd like to a certain degree. So you can ask the alchemist if, oh, can you make this potion? And they'll be like, oh, I can make that potion or not. And it'll take time to make the potion. So we can make it work like that. Yeah, definitely. Do you have any idea of what potion you'd like? Or maybe you can message me what you'd think. Yeah. But it has to be something that you would have had exposure to before. It can't be something like Potion of Undying. Right. Unless you've seen it before and, yeah, other conditions as well. Yeah. You can, if the lower it is, the more that he can make. So he can probably make like 5 common and less more. The higher it is. But I think this is a good place to wrap up the one shot, the dream, in between the party returning to Saltmarsh. That Rufus reminisces. So, bit of a summary of what happened before the party left Saltmarsh. They were on a bit of an escapade, dragged into a story of a goat that pretended to be a grand wizard, who was transformed into a goat by a powerful magic user. The party was able to go into the magical users, their lair, their giant tree lair, and gather some interesting alchemical ingredients, meet some interesting gorillas, and perhaps defeat the magician, or turn him into something more sinister. So the ending of this story is a bit up in the air. So we'll see how this affects the rest of the story. Because there was maybe like 2 or 3 endings for this story. But you guys got the fun one, so very interesting. But next time we have a session, it will definitely be on the main campaign, so you guys will be back into Saltmarsh. And you'll see what happens from what you've done before. It'll be very interesting. And we'll probably... I think this works okay for the number. This works okay. This layout for the stream. So yeah, okay. Time to wrap stuff up. Okay, well, that was it for this session. Good to be back. Shout out, once again, shout out to you guys. Shout out to the Twitch people, the YouTube people, the shorts, the VOD watchers, etc. I'll try and be pumping out content more regularly now that I'm on my break. So I got work and stuff coming up, so we'll see how things juggle up. So my streams might be a bit like, not as regular as they used to be in terms of the hours. I might do stuff at weird hours. But that means I get to meet more of you people on different times. So I think it'll work out. But yeah, until probably 3 days from now, Wednesday, or maybe Monday, I'll see you guys around then. But until then, oh yeah, I'll have to make like a VOD and like a shorts for this. I think there should be some interesting stuff. That stuff will probably be out, I'm assuming, probably on the weekend. Hopefully before the next campaign, but no guarantee.